And now it's time for the latest exciting episode of Doz's Television Workshop.
Hello and welcome back to Doz's Television Workshop, where today we're going to be taking a look at this national TC-261 colour television set from the mid-70s-ish. Yeah, this is actually belongs to one of our subscribers, Murig Hailstone, who emailed me and said, did I fancy having a go at it? And he says, I'm the YouTube subscriber from Cardiff. I'd like to think there was more than one, but maybe not. But yeah, and as I was in Cardiff the following day, we met up and I've picked it up. And yeah, the fault is, all of a sudden, after years of faithful service, he says, the frame has come in at the bottom. I'll insert a photograph here of that he'd sent. So yeah, the other problem is apparently only the bottom button works. So... but he's not fussed by that because obviously he's using a modulator and he's only on one channel anyway. So yeah, let's get into it. Right, well, I've got it plugged in. I've got Pipette Gen running, so I think we'll need to tune that in. So first things first, we shall switch on. Oh, it's got the old Magic Line tuning as well. How wonderful. Right. We'll want some power, I think. Oh, there we go, straight up. I'll show you how Magic Line tuning works if we manage to get anywhere with it. Pipette Gen's up a bit from where he's got it tuned in. There's a little scale in here, we can see where on the UHF band we are. Oh yeah, you can see straight away our frame is wobbling about. That sounds like Pipette Gen. You switch the Magic Line in, you get this green line and you tune it until it's near as you can get it to nothing. There we go. I'm just going to switch that over to tone so we don't get a copyright strike. Switch the Magic Line out. And now, of course, it's behaving perfectly. It's a little bit low in height, but... oh, that's typical, isn't it? Here's a little more brightness. He did say the tube's a bit soft. I think it's just a bit low in drive, really. Oh, it is starting to defocus a bit. But yeah, it's not bad, is it, considering its age? Would you believe it? That frame's put itself right. Right, let's take the back off and have a look. Penarth TV and audio. Good Lord. Okay, we've got the usual arrangement with the tuner. We'll just snick that out. Okay, it's busy in here, isn't it? Yeah, there is a lot packed into a very small space. Yeah, he did say somebody had been at the vertical controls in the past. And there is a little unusual mod there where somebody's put a wire link in a horizontal pot and bent it up so it's vertical, but you know, whatever works. So, what's causing our rough frame stage, do we think? Right, high voltage. Oh, we've got a tripler and a conventional looking output transformer. And a bit of dust coming about the place, but it's not too bad, is it? So yeah, I think we might just want to have a little hoover up first and yeah, just make things a little bit nicer for ourselves. Okay, we may do some more of that as we get in deeper, but right, I think the first thing to sort of do is to switch the set back on and just see if we can induce the fault, or do I just extract the chassis and have a look for a dry joint or something first? I mean, that might be favourite, mightn't it? Unfortunately, I am going in blind here. I don't have a service manual, but what's the worst that can happen? We spend months on it like we did with that portable. Right, scan yoke is coming over here into this plug here. So I think that's a first port call, isn't it? Just to have a look in there. Right, how does the chassis come out? We are on runners here. We have 2 locking screws left and right. We'll just undo them. I don't have to remove them, I don't think. It's a sort of sliding arrangement. There we go. So now I'd have thought it just pulled out, but we're being held by these levers here with nowhere to go. It's unusual, isn't it? Am I missing something blindingly obvious? I could well be. Can't see any way around that, really. Well, let's take those screws all the way out then. What a chunky screw and a star washer to lock it. That mounting bracket has become distressed from the bottom of the cabinet. Okay, let's just pop the tube base off. Move the set forward on the bench a bit so I can get the chassis into a position where we can examine it. It's all very tight. I can see somebody's replaced a couple of electrolytics before. So what have we got? Yeah, things have been warm. I think I'm going to need a torch, and this light above isn't helping. So there we are. Grab the old workshop torch and have a little look. Anything obviously dry. So there's the vertical linearity pot there. Ooh. Yeah, those joints don't look very good on that transformer there. I'd have thought that was more line related, but maybe not. And there has been some considerable work around TR4, 456, whatever that does. Yeah. Chopper power supply, that's had some action as well. It's had replacement transistors in it by the look of it. Yeah. Well, it's of some age, so it's allowed to have had repairs. I have to say it's remarkably compact. Okay. Model number TC-261G. Serial number MC613085. No less. Right. I'm just going to put a warm iron around those joints, and then we'll see if that makes the blindest bit of difference. I suspect not, because they don't look that bad, but it certainly won't hurt. Let's just mount that chassis back in, switch on, and see if we can't cause the fault to reoccur. Strange how it almost went straight away, but there we are. Okay, I won't pop the screws back in the chassis yet, because I suspect we'll be out again. You can see the heat that's been on this tube base in its time. It's blued the pins, because I don't suppose they were like that originally. Right, let's tilt the set round and see if we can't see our fault again. Ah, aerial socket. Now, funnily enough, the aerial socket that I took out of that Panasonic portable we did the other month is the same sort of thing, so I can just use that one without having to take the one out of the back here. Let's go and find that. Bingo! Right, let's reaffix that to the tuner. This aerial socket is isolated because I suspect the chassis isn't. So you can see on the back of the aerial socket there, it's isolated with capacitors. So it just lets the RF in and keeps the DC away from the human being. We're isolated here anyway, but yeah, there we are. Right, power on. Okay, and yeah, that looks all right, doesn't it? Typical. We're a bit low in height, which is the height pot. It is marked on the back. We've got hold, vertical lin, vertical height. Vertical lin, vertical height is that pot that's been changed previously. It has the bodge wire in it. Ah, that's the issue. Yeah, so as soon as we get any scan going, it's falling over. Yeah, don't suppose the linearity makes one iota of difference. Bit scratchy and horrible, but no. Okay, so that is our problem. Insufficient drive when we get a bit near with the Lee height. It's going to be a cap, I betcha. Right. Let's spin the set back round and have another look at it. Okay, I managed to find a bit of a schematic on the Wonderful Radios-TV's website, and it just shows us enough, I think. This here is the frame stage here. So this is our sync separator. Line stage is over here. We're not really interested in that. It appears to be working. And here is our vertical output stage. Now, what would be concerning me, so we can see the sync separator feeds the drive, the base of this transistor here, with frame. So C407 might be on its way out. Not got any problem with these high voltage parts, they'll be absolutely fine. We've got a 4.7 mic there, which I'm not liking the sound of. So C411, so C407, C411, that's 4.7 mic, 50 volts. Anything else in there? We've got that one there, which is C412, and there is one in there, but it's just faded. Look, I can't quite read it. Something at 200 volts, but it's on the end of R427, so we should be able to find that, I thought. I think this is all the that transformer business I was soldering up there. Also, we've got vertical amplitude or height and the bias, which will be the linearity, and in here we've got C451 and C452, 330 mic, 6.3 volts, and C451. My hatred of the 6.3 volt capacitor just points me in that direction, and it's around the bias and height stage, which I'm sort of suspicious of. So I think 451 and 452 are going to be our first port of call. Right, let's go and have a look at that. Right, well, I'm in a spot of bother here because the schematic doesn't exactly marry up what I've got on the board. What I've got are these two capacitors there. You can just see them, but they're film types. They're not electrolytics, and they're clearly marked as such on the diagram. So I'm casting, doubt on my diagram at the moment. And I just wish I could find the frame output transistors as well, because I can't. Normally they'd be sort of heat sunk or have tabs on them, and there's one that's tabbed there in amongst this lot, but it's very, very tricky. So, yeah, we will persevere. I need to just get this chassis up a little bit further. Would be just nice, wouldn't it? Oh, maybe that's the angle. That's better. Right. So here's all our controls, and it all feeds this circuitry down here. It goes off on a wiring loom that comes around there. This is all switch mode chopper transformer type business going on over here. Yeah, maybe the thing to do is just trace the vertical coils back to where the output stage is and work our way there. Let me see if that makes any sense at all on our diagram. It's CO4 is marked as being the scan coil plug. Yeah, you see on here it's marked as being J20. I think either we've got a different revision or whatever. We have not got the same thing at all, have we? Blast. Never mind. The set, by the way, does date from 1976. Yeah. I think the only thing here to do is to plod around those capacitors and see what gives. I just want to know where that output stage is. Work my way back. Yeah, that transformer's all to do with the convergence. Horizontal, vertical, you see. The vertical is listed as being there. Trouble is, there's so many wires darting about the place. It's very, very difficult to follow. I think it's a case of being misled by my schematic, isn't it? I've got a feeling that bit there that's seen action, I think that is the frame output. I think it's just on tabbed transistors. So let's start looking for electrolytics in that area, shall we? There is a suspicious looking one up there. Just below there is another suspicious looking cap. There it is, C462. Very high ESR all of a sudden. Let me just try and get on it again. Yeah, 5 mic, but 25 ohms. So quite high, isn't it? See if I can't extract it. I might have struck gold here. So, first one I've removed. You can see that. Let's have a look on the top camera. Where are you? You can see he's blown the bottom of it out. 4.7 mic, 250 volt. Could that be it? Could it be just one capacitor? Who knows? Thoughtfully, is the polarity marked on the board or not? You see what another one looks like. Positive towards me. Right. 4.7, 250. I'm looking a bit depleted in this box, it must be said. 4.7, 350. Good enough. That's on one of those riveted through sort of bits of circuit board. So I'm going to have to get the desoldering gun on it just to be able to get it into position, I think. So, right. Talk amongst yourselves while it warms up. I'm just going to remove that for the time being. It's in my way. Right, slot the chassis back in, switch on, and see what happens now. Oh, it's got me. Right, turn the light off again. I'm going to need but a little tweaking stick. There he is. Okay. Switching on. Whoa. Would be a lot better if I plugged the tube base back in first. Switching on. Nope, we've still got the same fault present. Okay, right. Also appear to have no sound. Let me just see if we haven't got some adjustment now. We have got adjustment. Okay, have we put our fault right? Let's turn the frame height down now, we've got too much. Okay. I'm just going to give that linearity control a bit of a birthday. That's much smoother now. Okay. Well, the bottom's right and the top's not now, isn't it? And the linearity's not great. I need a mirror. Let me go and get my mirror in a minute. Let me just see if we can't just... I'm sort of eyeballing it in the camera, but it's not ideal. So I think if we brought the height out there, we'd be about right. But of course these things are sent to try us. Yeah. So we've got no control there at all, really. Well, that capacitor didn't make a lot of difference. Let's go and find another. Well, many cups of tea have been drunk. Many capacitors have been removed, tested, proved innocent and replaced. Until I got to this one. This one here, which is buried right behind the frame control and focus pot. Let's get it on the top camera there so you can see it. But as you can see, it's a unidexter.
I've got nothing against your right leg. The trouble is, neither have you.
I'll just get the number for you, just in case. It's buried right down here. It is C533, and it's buried right down in there, In fact, I had to remove this one, which somebody sort of bodged nearly the right thing in there in years gone by, which tests fine, but this one, yeah, just horrible. One-legged and generally unpleasant. So I have a replacement. Trouble is, I've got a leg stuck in there, I think. So I've got to get that out, which is going to be interesting. So let's just see if we can't persuade that out. This thing is a horrible thing to work on, I have to say. Oh, come on. It's not wanting to come out. I'm loath to push it in from the top. I'm trying to pull it out from the bottom, because if it falls into the chassis, I've got no chance of ever finding it again. Oh, it's difficult. Maybe if I do push it through, I can just get in there and grab it. But it's not an easy thing to work on at all. I have to put the chassis back down. See if I can just see it in there. I think I can see it, but whether I can get it is another thing. Good job these sets were so reliable, because honestly it's a difficult thing to want to work on. I've got it. Excellent. Right, let's just have a look at the polarity of the thing. Okay, ground is to the left. By the way, it's 3.3 mic at 250. And I've got a 350 volt one, which we'll have to do. There we go. I need to replace that one. I think I'm there. Yeah, I am. That's great news. Right, solder the new one in, solder the old one back in. Beautiful. Put it back together, switch it on, and see what we get. Right, and on with the power. What have we got? Got tube heaters. Ah, here we are. Okay, so we've still got our low height issue. Let's see if we can't bring that up a bit. Don't tell me it's still the same. That linearity control is very gritty. And yeah, we're still not getting there, are we? We've still got some horrible fold over at the top. And if you get that right, we get that horrible fold over at the bottom. Yeah. Okay, so basically, that's made no difference at all, has it? 2 capacitors down, and we're still in the same boat. Ah, well, more tea, more checking. Right. Well, I think I found it. And it's this tantalum capacitor here. I'm getting no sense out of it on the ESR meter. The worst bit about it though is, if I look at it carefully, there's no value written on it. It just says 35 volts and is marked with a positive end. There is some weird writing above it, but it's like 3 dots and a T, which doesn't mean anything to me. I'll see if I can get it on the camera, but I'm not holding out much hope. Let's put a bit of light on there, see how you get on. But yeah, it's just like 3 dots and a T. I can't get any sense out of it on the ESR meter. it does start to do something when it's cold, but I can't measure its capacitance. So, yeah, I am a little bit struggling for ideas here to what to put in there. I mean, it's 35 volt. Where should we start? One mic? Put that in and see if it runs? I mean, it's a start, isn't it? I mean, that one is doing next to nothing. So, what have I got to lose? Very little. Let's find the tants and see if we've got something. So let's go one mic. I've got 25 volts. Yeah, I don't have one at 35 volts. I have got 4.7 at 35 volts, but it's quite a big lump. I mean, it's a lot bigger than the original. I've got 0.047 at 35 volts. What's the worst that can happen? Let's put it in and this for 47 and see what happens. I think that's the only thing to do. Right, let me sort that and I'll be right back.
A little later.
So, I put what I thought was our errant tant on the Chinese tester. And sure enough, it tells me that it's about 1,000 nanofarads, 1 microfarad. So, and not only that, but when I cool that or warm it up, that doesn't move. There's nothing wrong with that cap. Bad news. So, I strapped 2 new 0.47s into the set, and sure enough, exactly the same problem. But freezing around there again points me to that transistor that's right next to that tantalum capacitor. So I thought, okay, that's fine, we'll change the transistor. So I've taken it out and it's here. And first thing you'll notice about it that's odd, where are you there? It's got 4 legs. It is a 3SF11. 3SF11 little thing. And it's not a transistor as such, it's a silicon controlled switch. Roughly similar to an NTE 239. And I can't find one anywhere. Sure enough, if I spray that, the frame puts itself right and it'll stay there until it gets warm again. But that has had it. And that's a problem. So, I'm sort of stuck now. I don't know where to go with this one. I need another one of those transistors. And it is made from purest unobtainium. I'm going to ask around a few places and see what falls out. But I am not hopeful. Right, I'm going to stop there.
4 to 6 days later.
Right, it's the following week. The summer's still here. So I did put out a distress call. Some of you may have seen it as a YouTube short. And a few people commented, oh, there's got to be a workaround. And yeah, there is. And somebody suggested a Philips BR101, which is very available. I looked at the specs and it's damn similar. Then somebody else suggested an NTE 239. Very similar indeed. And then over on the VRAT forum at radios-tv.co.uk, somebody suggested a BRY39. That was JCB. BRY39 is the thing. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. And I also put out a request for the service sheet. And Chris at radios-tv.co.uk said, yeah, the TC-261 schematic he's got bears absolutely no resemblance to my set. There is no silicon control switch, the R little SCS, this 4-pin fella here. There isn't one in it. But God bless him, he went and had a look at some other schematics and came up with, let me just click here, a schematic, when it loads, here we are, he came up with a schematic for a national 262G, which does indeed have the SCS. And in that schematic, it suggests a BRY39 as an appropriate replacement. So I've been and got one. Let's go and fit that and see how we get on. Right, I did order two. I've got a BRY39 and a 101 as well. That is on BR101. I'm going to not fit that. I am, however, going to fit this one, which is our BRY39. So let's get that soldered back in and see if it makes any difference at all. Now I have to say, I'm not confident at all. Although it does respond to being frozen, you know, it's a 4-junction device. There's a lot of expansion and contraction can be happening in there a bit, I think. And I wonder if something else is marginal. And it's just meaning that when I cool this, it does improve the situation. I could be wrong. It's not exactly uncommon for small devices like this to become thermally sensitive. In fact, all sort of diodes really are. That is how, for example, let's consider the Luxman amplifier from a couple of weeks ago. That has three diodes in series to control the bias, because as it warms up, it changes the characteristics as of the bias. So of those 3 diodes, I should say, and changes the bias to cope with thermal drift. So it's not. It's a thing, but whether this is me cooling this is just masking another fault, I've no idea. Let's get it fitted. Right, that's everything hooked up. Let's just dim the lights slightly. So move that out of the way so I can see what's going on. And we'll put a bit of power on and see where we get. Fortunately, you can see the light's been reflected a bit there off the mirror. I'm looking in a mirror which is just under that camera. But hopefully we'll be able to see what's going on. If I move the mirror down a bit, it's better for you, isn't it? Okay, a little off tune. And, well, that doesn't look right to me. Is it any better though? Let's try and set it up. Is that any better or not? I mean, we're almost achieving full frame. But then again, I think we did before, didn't we? That's about there. And it really is still the same, isn't it? As I thought. I don't think that's made the blindest bit of difference at all. And yeah, right. I think the next thing to do is let's go and have a look at that schematic that Chris kindly provided for me. Right. Okay, so we've got quite a bit of our schematic here. And as you can see, this is our 3SF11, which is also a BRY39. And yeah, well, that's made not enough difference really. And this is sort of the oscillator stage. Then we come to PQRS switching. a 2SC828 or a BC547A, which makes no difference. Which is interesting because you've got sort of British numbers here and Japanese numbers there. We've got that capacitor there. I think we've changed that. That on my diagram, by the way, is indeed TR451 on my layout. So this is looking promising. So what have we got here? We've got these bipolar capacitors. Well, we changed those out. We've taken them out and measured them. Here's our height pot here. We've got C413 2.2 mic 25 volt. We can have a look at that. C414 again. Then we've got some coils going on here. We've got our vertical drive and vertical out. And I'm just trying to look to see where the HT comes from. Vertical out 1, there's another one up here. C473, 47 mic, 160 volt. And I reckon that might be one of the ones that have gone open that I was so adamant was going to put our fault right. But look, there's a 390 ohm resistor there, 7 watts. Well, if that would gone high, because this was failing, it's entirely possible we'd have an odds frame scan there. We've got another one there. We've got 220 mic, 63 volts, which is C422, and that's on our vertical center there. And I think that's one of those pots that sort of sticks up out off the board. So yeah, C474, 33 mic, where's that? See, that's supplying our AQS drive. Sorry, a QS drive rather than our PQRS drive. It's all a bit odd, isn't it? I don't understand much of this nomenclature. But anyway, we've got a few bits we can be looking for. Bias, now that's interesting. Which way is that biased? So that's biasing this network here. Blocked by that diode there. We've got a bipolar. Yeah. So we've got some things we can be checking for. Let's go and have a look at those. So I've been tracing my way merrily through the frame output stage with the slightly wrong schematic, but it gives me a clue. And the clue is that the output transistors were over here. And I've been measuring one of the voltages on there to see how much supply we've got available. So in the event of us not having enough supply, then maybe we can't achieve the right height. And I found this. I shall hold it up to this camera here. That is the main sort of reservoir capacitor for the frame stage. And it's a monster. It's 22 mic at 250 volts. This frame stage seems to run at quite a high voltage. And you can see the bottom's all blistered. Yeah, it's really in horrible condition. Let's have a laugh and actually measure it, shall we? Shouldn't think there's much left of it. So we're looking for 22 mic at 250 volts and a sensible ESR. I suspect we'll have none of that. Utterly open circuit. Fabulous. Right, 22 at 250. Let's see what I've got. 22 mic, 450. Just the job. That'll do nicely. Let me get that back in there. And then switch on and try once more to see if we can get a decent picture out of this thing. Right, well, we're getting a picture. Let me switch the workshop lights off. It's at this point I incurred the wrath of the copyright gods. Unfortunately, I've had to blur this sequence out. Even though there's no sound, the BBC took umbrage to me showing a trailer for one of their excellent wildlife programmes. And I've got more than enough height at the top. Oh, I've just got more than enough height. Let's bring the linearity in. I did disassemble the linearity pot and try and repair it as best I could. Well, that's looking much, much better. Right, I've now got too much height. Let me turn it round a shade so you can see that. I need to shift the picture down slightly, and I think it's the pot I can't get at from this angle. So just bear with me 1 second. I need to just pull the chassis out slightly. Make sure we're not leaning on anything. And then I should be able to get at the frame shift pot. Bring that back on. Try and take that shadow of the mirror out of the way for you. Okay. Feeling this one here is frame shift. Oh, that's bias, I think. Okay, we're getting that. Tweak on the lin. Tweak on the height. And would you look at that? It's a decent quality picture, I must admit. Did say the focus was a little bit off, but tell you what, I wouldn't bemoan that much. It is all the way up one end. It doesn't seem to make much difference, does it? Seem to be making much difference at all, the old focus pot. I wonder if there's a resistor in the bottom end that's gone a bit open. But the most important thing I think is the next thing, is to work out why now I've got no sound. So, epic work. I am so pleased now with that. Thanks to Chris at VRAP for finding me a diagram that's almost right. Thank you, mate. Yeah. Right. Sound. All right, well, I've removed the set from the bench because I want to show you this. This is the Sound & Vision IF board. So the signals come in from the tuner down here and are then processed into the separate video, sync and sound signals. And we've got no sound, and I did think that was going to be a man-made fault. I thought where I'd had the chassis in and out, I've pulled the wire off the volume control, something like that. Not at all. In here are 3 ICs. 2 ICs, my bad, the whole board has 3 ICs. This is to do with the line oscillator and part of the chroma. This down here, the AN421D, is our sound IF, and this is, I believe, the Vision IF. I haven't really looked at the 320 because all I was interested was in the sound. Now I traced it all the way back through the amplifier, that was all working fine, and I traced it back to TP8. I need a pointing stick of some description. I shall use this, which is that pin just there. And sure enough, there's no audio coming out. Those 2 bottom pins are in fact the volume control, but they're working. And there's a fine 11 volts, 11.4 volts being supplied to that chip. So we know its power supply is healthy, but there's nothing coming out. So I'm afraid I think it's dead. As far as I can tell, there's IF coming in because there's IF all over the other board, and the Vision's fine. Not that I've scoped it up, maybe that would be something I ought to do. But thankfully the AN421D is available, so I've gone and ordered one. The set that keeps on giving, the fun of vintage television, everybody. So yeah, this is going to be put to one side again while we wait for that to turn up.
1 week later.
Right, a week or so later, I managed to find a brand new AN241 Sound IF IC. When I say managed to find, it was actually remarkably easy the internet was full of them, and from reputable suppliers as well, so that's all good. So let's just get it mounted in. It's down in there, so we're going to have to remove this can from the rear. Now, do you think we should put a socket in there? I think we might as well. Right, so let's gather our new IC. Oh, let me take a bit of blue tack off first, won't I? There we go. AN241D. Slightly different logo on that, which worries me. I hope I haven't purchased a fake. It did come from a reputable source, so... And I can't see this being something you'd want to fake, to be quite honest. I'll just get the leg straightening tool out. I knew this was going to be a struggle. There it is, fitted in. Put the shields back on, of course. Which way round does it go? We've got two coils there, one up there, that's the right way round. Does that tang not go through the middle? Ah, it does. There we go, and of course solder this shield back on the other side. Just going to clean the solder off that a little bit. There we go. Let's get the set back in here and see if it's put it right. I switched it back on. There was no sound. So, to diagnose the missing sound, I've had a poke round with stuff, including this Yaesu FT817. It's a little ham radio transmitter, but it'll receive 6 megahertz. We used 6 megahertz sound. It was PAL-I in the UK, different on the continent and different in the States. But here's the interesting thing. So I was listening for a bit of audio around the IF stage, just to see if we could find if we did actually have 6 megahertz present. And I'll just switch over to the diagram here and we can have a look at that. So this test point here, A7, should contain IF, including our 6 meg sound. There's a bit of filtration here, but A7 comes down here through a transformer which is variable. So that tunes the sound for 6 megahertz, then it falls into our chip. Now, as soon as I touched pin 2, because it was the easiest one for me to get to, with the probe, the sound came back. The sound is present on A7 up here, and it's present everywhere. But if you tap the board again, the sound goes away, and it pretty much stays away at that point. Again, you start probing around here, and it'll come back. My suspicion is T201 is intermittent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the board out again and rework all the solder around this sort of area here, and see if that puts it right. We may have to take TC-261 apart and see if it's got the dreaded green goo on one of its legs or something similar. But we've got to be quite brave to do that, because we're never going to find another one. Right, let's get on with that. Okay, so that's the lid off. So there's our IF chip. No, it isn't. This is our IF chip here. Pin 2 is there. That's the capacitor to ground. And that's T201, which I'm sort of suspecting. Maybe it's open circuit on its secondary. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get it out and see if we can disassemble it and see if on the inside occasionally you get like moisture has affected the winding and it goes slightly green. Touch it up with a bit of solder and it'll be good to go again. So yeah, let's just take that transformer out. It's T201 and see what we can make of it. Certainly all the soldered joints on it are very good indeed. So there it is. Looks to be sort of crimped together. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to take that apart, you know. Where are my magnifiers? Let's just have a good close look at it and see what it looks like. Right, I look under the magnifier and yeah, it's going to be a little bit tricky to get it apart, but I think we can manage it. If you can see there's a cross brace going across the middle, and that's these two grounding lugs. And I think if I just tweak that out with a pair of pliers, where are you? You there? We should just be able to lift the coil assembly out of the centre. So I'm going to attempt that. Not quite sure how much of this you're going to be able to get on camera. Let's have a go. Because I'm going to have my big fat head in the way so I can get the focal length right on this magnifier so I can see what I'm doing. Do you know what? I'm not sure this is feasible, and I don't want to risk damaging it. One thing I have done, let's measure up. So the primary is across this side, and it is just a, you can't see that, can you? Let's move that meter around a bit. That's good. So meter to ohms, and we've got a good low reading there, but it's only going to be a few turns. And on this side, a few more turns perhaps. Yeah, I don't want to risk taking that apart. Just going to have a look at the board under the magnifier, see if I can see anything else that's possibly awry. I mean, the soldering looks beautiful from factory. I really don't see much in the way that's going to give us a problem. Capacitor over here, this electrolytic C205 there. It's just ability coupling. Feels solid enough. I don't know. I think what we're going to do is we're going to solder this can back in and put plenty of new solder around it and get it as hot, too hot perhaps, and see if that sorts out any intermittency in there. But yeah, I don't know. Alright, that's it back in. If there's any, you know, intermittency internally to the transformer, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do. Just having a look around the rest of the board, see if there's anything remotely suspect. Well, pop the shield back on and put it back together and see how we get on. Right, well, I got the set all boxed up and back up together. Now for the moment of truth. Switch a bit of mains on. We have sound. That is good. Let's put the music on for a second. This is Pat Gen. Perfect. Just to obviate any copyright issues we might have, I'll just give it a little tap. That's absolutely solid. Excellent. And yeah, giving us a good picture as well. Shade low in height maybe. I'm just going to switch it over to my Sky feed and just see if that's actually low in height, because I'm not quite sure on the calibration of Pat Gen occasionally, although we do have the old vertical linearity to play with a bit. Yeah, that's a bit stretched out at the top now, isn't it? That pot's a lot better since I fixed it. Yeah. There we go. Now that's looking good. I will just switch over to the Sky feed. If I've got it connected, I have. Coming in on that lead there. That's a little bit off tune. Let's just tune in another button, shall we? Let's get a stick on the job. Should be around here somewhere. Yeah, I think it's a little bit tall. Rather pleased with that. And there you have it. Great pictures and sound on Murig's 1976 Panasonic TC-261G colour TV set. Yeah, really is performing very nicely. Thank you to Chris from the VRAT forum at radios-tv.co.uk for going over and above the Call of Duty to find a schematic that looked a bit like the chassis we'd got in the set. Without that, I think we'd have been poking around in the dark for even longer than we were. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Click like, subscribe, do all that rubbish, and I'll see you really soon here on Doz's Television Workshop. Cheers now, bye. Well, I've removed the set from the bench because I just want to show you this. Now this is the Sound and Vision IF board. Let's do this again because I've bumped the camera like a twat. Right, stopping everything. This is bloody ridiculous.